Hello, everyone, and welcome back. And thank you for joining in again live. Today, it is Monday, July 8th. It is noon here on the East Coast, and you are watching the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group. I am your host, Jason Leeser. And if this is working for you, please drop us comments, hit that like button, let us know in the chat. That way, I'm not talking to dead space the whole time. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on demand shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. You can try it out for free. We have a number of different options for you to try out. You do not have to subscribe right away. The first option for you to try it out is a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon. Kind of gives you a little sneak peek into what it's like to have a subscription. The second option for you to try it out is to get some free advice from Guy Aitchison about your unique goals. Really is very, very helpful if you're looking for a direction to head in, if you're looking for information on how it could benefit you. Taking that option is always a great way to do it. The third option for you to try it out is a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. For fellow tattoo history nerds such as myself, I cannot stress enough that tattoo history course is worth its weight in gold. It's absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend it. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full event schedule with full weekly and special event live stream details. For example, if you wanted to jump in today's show live, you could always go to www.reinventingthetattoo.com and click on the events area where you can find a full calendar of live stream events that we host, along with links to join those live events at any point in time. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you also have access to our Reinventing 24/7 channel, which is available on all web enabled devices and will allow you to stream up to 13 different episodes at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As well, at reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find access to professional development and on demand seminars from over 20 world class tattooers. Artists like Bob Tyrell and BJ Betts, Andre Malcolm, all of them and a whole lot more have on demand seminars that you can purchase for a price, obviously. You can also find us in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which has 12 to 15 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is available on all Roku enabled devices. You can also find us in all of the major podcast directories, such as Apple and Spotify. Or you can do what most people do and just pull up your web browser and do a quick search for Reinventing the Tattoo, and you'll find it all. Except for the book, which is still currently out of print. I know I've been looking for another copy for quite some time, and they are very few and far between. So if you come across a copy, please, by all means, let me know. I'm looking to pick up another one. Once again, if this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and in the chat, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. Maybe it's someone looking to get into the tattoo industry or someone that's just curious about the tattoo process. Maybe it's someone that's looking to do research on the tattoo industry as a whole. Tag everyone you know that loves tattoos. We have a number of weekly staple shows we always encourage people to tune into, starting off on Mondays at 9 a.m. with Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we get back to our roots of being a fine artist and we discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies, color theory, warm ups, ways to approach different topics. It's a great way for us to really get back to our roots of being a fine artist in the tattoo industry. And that is 9 a.m. Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom Monday mornings. Following that, you have this show, which is the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group. with me, Jason Leeser, where we get to go through and discuss a whole host of different topics. We also have a number of different artists that come on, and we ask them to come on and share some of their knowledge with us. We've got a very, very awesome episode today. I can't wait. Someone who's had a major impact on my career and my life will be joining us today, and that is Gunnar. And Gunnar, I see you there, man. We'll let you in just a second. Um, Capping off Monday nights at 9 p.m., we have a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew from the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. And that is only available for people that have a Reinventing the Tattoo Canon subscription, a Reinventing the Tattoo Evolution subscription, or the Monday evening drawing group subscription. I can tell you from firsthand experience, jumping in on those Monday evening drawing groups alone will help you improve your work. I did them for about 2 years solid, 2 years in a row. And there is a noticeable difference in the work that I'm putting out now compared to the work that I was putting out then. It is that in and of itself is worth any price you could pay. It's absolutely fantastic, and I cannot stress that enough. And that's capping off Monday evenings. Tuesdays at 11 a.m., we have the Tattoo Weekly Show with Gabe Ripley, Lauren Gregory, and Fawn Baker. And that will help us stay up to date with all of the new changes coming up in the tattoo industry. Maybe it's legislation being passed, new restrictions being put out there, maybe directions the tattoo industry is heading. All of that and a lot more is discussed during the Tattoo Weekly, and that is 11 a.m. on Tuesdays. Following that, on Wednesdays at noon, we have the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, where we get to do a deeper dive into the business aspect behind tattooing, whether it's applying for a travel visa or marketing and advertising strategies. Maybe it's budgeting or client management. All of that and a lot more is discussed. That's noon, the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley on Wednesdays. And capping off the week at 6 p.m., we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast with Fawn Baker, which is a great place for us to go through and share some of our stories, both good and bad, about collecting our tattoos and the journeys that we have been on. We also have a number of weekly staple shows or a couple of special live in person events that we have coming up. And the first one is the Hell City Tattoo Convention in Phoenix, Arizona. And the lineup for this show is going to be absolutely awesome. We have Paul Booth, who will be there tattooing live, Mike Cole, Ty McEwen, Ron Earhart, Amber Joy, D Rock will be there, my friends Oak Adams and Anna Mia, Brian Geckel, Jimmy DeLessio, Pepe Carrere, Chris Mack, and of course, myself will be there tattooing live. If you will be in the Phoenix area in Arizona, please hit me up. Let me know. I still have a few spots available. So if you're trying to get tattooed, drop me a line. As well, after that, October 24th through 27th in Hancock, Massachusetts, we have the Paradise Tattoo Gathering. Oh, where did that go? That was here and nope, wrong one. Let's see. Ah, slideshows. Gotta love them. Let's see. There we go. We have the Paradise Tattoo Gathering. Reinventing the Tattoo will be live, and we will be beaming out live from Jiminy Peak in Massachusetts. We've got an absolutely incredible lineup of presenters this year. We have Jake Meeks, Kyle Olson, Renee Little, Mickey Schlick. Sandy McAndrew will be joining us from Canada. Thea Duskin will be there. Corey Ferguson will be presenting. Steve Butcher will be putting on a seminar. Christina Christie will be there. Gunnar, Anthony Tex, Russ Abbott. And there's a few rumors going around that Marcus Lenhard will be there, as well as Kaya Heitland. So it's definitely not going to be something that you want to miss out on. Would like to go through and take a minute to thank some of our sponsors and some of the people that make these shows happen. Starting off with worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. They're constantly keeping everything up to date, as we know, living in a post pandemic era. Every now and then, tattoo events and conventions are getting rescheduled like crazy. So if you want the latest and greatest, most up to date tattoo event information coming to a city or town near you, or maybe it's one you plan on visiting, Lord knows that's how I book all my vacations, take a look at worldtattooevents.com. Would also like to thank tattoonow.com, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. They are 100% competitive with any type of CRM, mailing list, or scheduling software out there. So, if you really want the digital tools that will help you streamline your client booking process to get you more appointments every single day and more appointments that want to get the kind of work that you want to do, take a look at tattoonow.com. They have been an industry leader in this technology for about 20 years. Would also like to thank Guy Aitchison at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. You can go to guyaitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his biomech encyclopedia, some of his tutorial DVDs. I think he still has a few custom coil machines for sale, as well as countless fine art prints and the occasional oil painting, all for sale at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to say a very special thank you and shout out to the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. It's one of my favorite resources to refer people to that are looking to get into the tattoo industry, that are looking for more information on how to get an apprenticeship, what a good apprenticeship is like, and the right way to go about breaking into the industry. As always, we ask that if you like today's show, please go through, hit that like and subscribe button. That way you stay up to date and you get notified of all of the new upcoming episodes coming out. Um, if you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event or become a sponsor of our community, or if you were looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email management at reinventingthetattoo.com and we will get back to you as soon as we can. And now to introduce someone that has had a monumental impact on my career and my life, my work ethic, and everything that you can imagine. I'd like to introduce Gunnar, who's been on this show previously, but who I will always welcome back as many times as he wants to join us. So,
Uh, Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Good
thank you.
seeing you. Uh,
Likewise, it's been a bit.
it's been a minute. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been doing a lot of traveling. You've been getting involved a lot more with the tattoo community. Tell us a little bit about that. What kind of, what kind of sparked the travel and, getting more involved with everything going on in the whole industry. Anything specific that kind of did that?
You know, well, I got to say, I think what really, I had taken off some time. I had to deal with like some family, um, deaths and health stuff and all that. So I'd come home to help my family and couldn't really, I wasn't in the place to tattoo much at the time. So I like had sunk into pet painting the last year or so that I was here dealing with that. And then, I got a new machine from my friend Joshua Bowers, and I got his like little steel driver, and I'd like called him up and ordered one, and then he sent me this machine, and as soon as I got it, it's such a random story, but as soon as I'd been using the pens and stuff for a while now, I guess, but as soon as I got it, I was like, it it just like had this like it's kind of a hybrid between like a coil and a rotary, but it I don't know, something about it like sparked this like fire in me again. It like was nostalgia. It was like a piece of like it felt like a machine felt to me, and I
Right.
had a steel tube, and it had like so I had all these like things that kind of like brought back like everything I had like kind of loved. Like all of a sudden, all these memories of like all the things I fell in love about tattooing like came flooding back, and I like immediately tattooed myself because I it was late when I got it, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna try it out. So as soon as I did, I was like, man, I love like it wasn't that I had forgotten how much I love tattooing, but there were aspects of tattooing that have gotten so far off the rails for me, as far as like the culture of it and stuff that it just I felt like really disconnected for a long time where I didn't feel like I knew my place anymore in the world of tattooing. Like I didn't like a lot of the things. they just weren't like exciting to me, like some of the things I was seeing in terms of like people's goals and stuff. And and I was always constantly trying to align myself with the that direction. Like, oh, I guess that's where we're moving, so I'm going to keep like aligning myself with that. And then I got that machine, and then I was like, I'm going back on the road. Like, I want to go back to convention. I'm going to do all the stuff I did like when I was like 20 again. Like, I want to go back and like re-experience tattooing again for the first time. Like, old man mentality, but like with like a freshness and hunger of like being a kid again. So, I went back on the road, and I'm listening to people whine and complain about things they were seeing in tattooing, and how they were affected by the changes and stuff. And I was, I kind of just got it in my head where I was like, man, like if I'm no longer a part of like the community of where tattooing's heading, maybe it's just time I like become my own community. Like maybe I just find the people that are like, my people, like that are all on the same
Right.
page with me. So it was really cool because as I like was going back out, I'm meeting artists that are all like aligned with, it's like creativity matters more than like fame. It was like the art of tattooing and the client matter more than like the dollar and the flashy cars and the you know Instagram like fame that's like just it all that stuff seemed very like contrived and fake to me.
Yeah.
And it might not be for these people, but for me it was. It just didn't align with my values. So, I started like just aligning myself with the people that shared the same values I did. And then I did a lot of writing on Instagram, but then I was like, why am I like I don't want to talk about the world of tattooing with the general public. Like I want to share ideas of what's happening in tattooing. Like it's not for them. Like it's not their business. It's like there's got to be some stuff left behind the scenes. Um, and so I kind of got into this idea of like maybe I'll just create this community where I can like talk. We can exchange ideas, talk about like where tattooing's going, what we can do to like direct it in a direction we think is healthier wherever it's possible. Just trying to generate conversation. So I got into that a lot, and the traveling, it all like goes hand in hand because it's like like I said, the last year and a half or so when I was at home painting, that's just me. Like it's just me, and it's
Right.
me painting, and what happens in the world outside of me doesn't matter at all. It just was a very solo endeavor. But with tattooing, it's always been like family. It's like my community. That's the main community I know because I never really had hobbies or a life outside. It was like tattooing and then my family, and those were the two things that I had. Um so going back on the road was super important for me because I needed to re reestablish old friendships. I needed to like create new friendships. Like one of the things I hear all the time when I'm on the road, like doing the conventions, or even like when I go do guest spots or visit friends at shops, is people are like, "Man, I hate going to shows. I don't even know any of the people there." And I'm like, "Well, then go meet new people." Like, if there's one thing I've learned about conventions, it's like 80% of those people are going to drop off after 3 years. Like, whoever you're seeing now will probably not be there in the next 3 years, and then there's going to be like a 20% that kind of continues, and then it's maybe like 10% that you'll see maybe for the next 10 years or 20 years. It like the amount of people that are consistently going to be going, it gets smaller and smaller. So if you're expecting to see, like for me, I'm 50 now, and I've been doing this almost 30 years. Like I'm not going to see that maybe all the people I saw when I first started tattooing, but I'm going to see a couple old friends, and then I'm going to make new friends and be around fresh people with fresh perspectives. And I don't know, I've really come to enjoy that like process. Like it's funny because you'll hear like tattooers, man, I hate other tattooers, and I'm like, well, you just haven't met the right people, man.
Yeah.
There's some great humans out there that do this job and that care. They care about the creativity. They care about like other people. They're not just like ego driven. It's like it's about like trying to like share with others and stuff. So I don't know. It's been pretty awesome. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. So
Yeah. I mean, you touched on a couple of really important points there, and it's something that So I come from the fine art background, went to art school and all that, and it was something that they always used to stress to us in these art classes that I was taking. um, they would point out specific examples and they would say, okay, there might be fantastic artists out there that are trying to like follow these trends in fine art and galleries and all this other stuff. And those are the ones that no one ever pays attention to because all they're doing is following along, right? It's all about, getting out there. It's okay, so you might do something similar to someone else, do it in a different way, create a different storyline to it, come up with something that connects to the audience a bit more, as opposed to just pumping out piece after piece that you think people are going to like. When you start creating art more for yourself, to tell a narrative, to tell a story, to reflect who you are, where you've been, and to help connect to other people that have shared experience, those are the people that ultimately end up coming to the forefront of that industry, because they have a deeper emotional connection. They're not worried about the money.
Yeah,
They
that
get,
all
if they
follows.
make
Yeah,
money off of it, great. But that's not why they do it. They do it for that personal connection to other people.
yeah,
Um, and it's something that's always kind of stayed in the back of my head. It's like, well, why do we create paintings? We don't create paintings for other people unless, of course, it's a commission, but that's a different story. 90% of the people I know that paint for themselves. And
yeah,
if other people like it, great, but they don't have to because it's for them.
yeah,
It's a piece of their story. Um, and it's, once again, something that I've picked up on over the years that I've been in this industry is that the more you travel, the more people you get to know and meet, um, the more of a community you develop.
yeah.
You know, I was just working at Hell City in May, and I came away with, I think, 4 or 5 new good friends. Have their phone numbers. I keep in touch with them. We're talking about different stuff. I was like, hey, listen, you guys got to come up to Paradise Gathering. This is going to be amazing this year. And they were like, oh, well, what's that? We haven't really. I mean, I've heard the name of the event, but I didn't know anything about it. And I was like, trust me, you want to be there.
Yeah.
Um, and there was one guy that went through, scanned the QR code on the back of the flyer, and signed up right on the spot. And it was awesome because at the end of the day, we're gonna be more polarized, and we're gonna be polarized to the people that want to improve themselves, right? Because that's ultimately what we are trying to do. Maybe it's not, in our art form. Maybe we're comfortable where we are. All right, cool, fine. You go be comfortable. I'm always trying to push myself and get out of that comfort zone because I know that that's where the real growth is. And, that means putting yourself out there, meeting new people, going up to artists maybe you're walking down the aisle in a tattoo convention, you see someone's work you like, and you're like, oh, well, let me talk to this person for a little bit. Next thing you know, could become one of your best friends ever. But you never know unless you put yourself out there like that.
Yeah.
Um, I try to travel as often as I can. And it was a piece of advice I got from an artist many, many years ago. They said, look at all of the artists that are out there that are happy with their life and where they've ended up in this industry. And every single one of them travels or has traveled frequently.
Yeah.
um, they might, over the years, maybe you start out working at 30 shows, right? Which is a lot for anyone. And I know one artist that used to do, I think he said he did 28 shows a year one year. And I was like, I can't comprehend that. Like that amount of traveling and staying. And to me, that's a foreign concept. And I was like, all right, well, I'm not doing that many shows. That's too much. But what I've noticed is that you'll start to see artists that they'll start to like narrow down the number of shows that they work at to really find those shows that they resonate the most with,
That's the truth.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the real, that's like the truth. There's definitely shows that I know do not fit like my,
Right.
who I am at all. Like the vibe is just so far out there for me. And I just, I mean, and it sucks because I have friends that go to them and stuff, and but I just know myself well enough now that like that's not where I want to be. The energy isn't right for me,
Right.
and so I avoid those now. But but the nice thing, I mean, I just went and did a show, and it was really cool. I wanted to. I had these two guys that I wanted to work that I was so I'm on this like kick now, I hit 50 this year and I was like, I think I'm gonna go like kind of re-apprentice again. Like I want to go sit down with artists again. I want to pick their brains. I want to have them critique the work I'm doing. I want to like really like sit in like what is the future of my career look like, because the beauty is like a lot of people like they get this idea of like, oh, I've hit this age, I've kind of hit everything that I did that was the best of me is already behind me, like, which is crazy to me to think, because right now I have all the knowledge of the last 30 years of tattooing, but with the same hunger. Like, what can that allot to over the course of the next 20 years, right? Like, what could I be capable of if I sink in with that hunger? Because if you don't like, if you're missing passion and hunger, like it doesn't make a difference. You're never gonna like. You'll just sit there. You'll revamp the same stuff. So it was cool for me. Like I wanted to work. I wanted to go check out this guy Zach Singer and this kid Sean Foy, and I guess they're both guys, older. They're not kids, but I and and then I had the fortune of like being placed right in between them at a convention where like I had one on each side of one of the guys on each side of me, and and we all became like friends. Like so, like I didn't know him when I showed up for the most part. I'd done a educational seminar with Zach in the past. Him and I did a speaking engagement together. So I had met him once before, about like 5 or so years ago, maybe 7 years ago now. But I hadn't met Sean. But I had written to both of them like, "Hey man, I want to come like guest spot, check you guys out. Like I really want to like see what you're doing and watch you and whatnot." So there they were, and and then I got to sit and watch them and pick their brains and talk with them, and and that was like so cool to like be able to have that experience, because the show was a little slow, so there wasn't like much work happening there, but I took the opportunity, and used it as an educational vehicle, like at the time. So that was really neat, and I don't know. It's like interesting because I'm also at this place now where it's like I've created a massive body of work over my career, and it's had a very it's although it's like altered here and there, and it's like definitely weaved in and out of different style, like different looks. It's always kind of been pretty consistent along the way for the most part. And then I like strangely enough last night I've been like working on some new drawings. I got a bunch of shows coming up, and I was like, man, I really want to like come out with something a little bit different or whatever. And then I've been like sitting with it and sitting with it, and then all of a sudden I had this like epiphany of this new thing I wanted to do that's kind of like more where so the older work's always been like what I had learned, the style I kind of had created, and then I was kind of building off of that foundation the last however many years. So like I do a lot of storytelling in in my art, in my paintings and my tattooings. They both are very like story based. Because the big difference between tattooing and painting is, like you said, paintings normally we're telling our story, whereas tattoo, our job's to tell somebody else's story.
Right.
So, my job as a tattooer is not to create necessarily for me, it's to create for the client using the skills and techniques I've learned to best give them what they're looking for. But then last night, and it's going to be kind of crazy because I'm almost like the new stuff isn't going to really look like
Okay.
what I have a history of doing. So it's kind of interesting. Like I'm curious to see how this kind of goes over, but it was at the right time in my life because I've had enough time away from the work I've been doing historically, at least in the realm of tattooing. The world of tattooing and imagery has changed. Some of the subject matters have changed. Some of the artistic language that people are using to communicate has changed. Stylistically, things have changed and evolved into a new direction. It's like you go through periods of time where things they alter with time, right? So
Right.
like a Norman Rockwell painting was awesome, and they're still awesome now. We look at them as historic pieces. But if there was an artist creating kind of Norman Rockwell knockoffs right now, it wouldn't fit the vibe of contemporary it wouldn't be
Yeah.
the same in contemporary times. It would have to be done in a different visual, striking way because the way people have altered, like the way we see imagery. And I had to take that into account because I'm like, I always have to question, am I doing the stuff I did 20 years ago because it's like a crutch? Like I know it, so I've been sticking with that. Or am I doing it because, that's really what I want to do? And is it best communicating what I want to say? And so I have to be like realistic with myself sometimes and be like, I feel like the audiences have changed, their tastes have altered over time, and now it's time to be able to tell the story in a new way with new language. And so um, but all that came from being on the road and talking with people and hearing ideas. And I would show them like what where I was at and be like, what do you think? And like get feedback like, oh man, it'd be cool if you kind of like bring this in or add this thing to it, like, or right now, this is like kind of a cool technique people are using, you could implement that in your work or whatever, whatever it was. And so so it's like trying to speak the same language as people, but in your own tone, in your own voice,
Right.
so it's like you still need the language to be able to communicate, you need the imagery to be able to communicate with the audience, and then you put your voice to it, right? Like, you and I are speaking the same language, but we speak very differently. So that's
Right.
kind of like the beauty of art, is like we have the capacity to share language. And that's what art essentially is. It's like the most simplistic. That's why emojis work. It's like it's very easy to describe something in art that would take a short novel to put out sometimes.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's been kind of the new direction I've been really like thinking on, and trying to talking with people about getting feedback on, and I don't know. It's exciting
It,
times. It's
yeah,
exciting times.
absolutely. I'm really excited to see, what this is going to be like, and the new work that you're going to be putting out. I'm used to a lot of your classic stuff, and that's kind of some of the stuff I grew up on, and I was like, oh man, did you see this? But I also go back to like tattoo magazine days where you wait for the latest issue of whatever magazine to come out, and oh, it's not at Barnes and Noble yet. Okay, maybe I'll check back in a few
Yeah,
days. you know um so I remember growing up and seeing some of the work that you were putting out in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then watching your career throughout the entire time I was coming up, from the time I was in high school all the way through.
yeah,
I was having this discussion with Guy, I think last year. I started looking at his work around the same time and like mind blown, and being able to watch everyone's career kind of evolve over time to see what directions they take. Some people will do a complete reinvention and they'll completely change everything that they're doing and the ways that they're communicating in this visual language. Some people will take a stance where they're getting more and more complex and they're trying new styles. Maybe they're, building into more of almost like a realist or a surrealist kind of style.
yeah, yeah,
And then you'll see them do like a 180 and they'll start simplifying everything back into its most simple form of communication, right? And it blows my mind because I'll look at someone like Steph Bastion, right? Perfect example of it. Out in Europe, this guy is a trained fine artist, portrait painter. He's done portrait tattoos and fine line tattoos before, and he built a whole career off of that. And if you look at all of the work he's putting out now, it's very much simplifying everything, simplifying shapes, colors, tones. He's really trying to focus on getting the image across using the most minimal elements that he possibly can. Like If you're drawing a fish, do you have to do every single scale that's on an actual fish? You can probably simplify it, make those scales bigger, and just do a couple of them,
Yeah.
right? You can do, instead of doing like a 4 or 5 tone gradient color, gradient color scale, you can probably simplify that and use skin tone, black, and the color.
Yeah.
um, Simplify. When you get to that point and you start boiling everything down, it still tells the story, but it's telling it in a much more easy to understand and a much more simplistic kind of a way. And, once again, coming from my background, to me, that has always been the hardest thing to do, is to simplify,
Yeah.
because I always want to add more. I want to do more colors, more value, more rendering, more line weight variation, more negative space, and more perspective, more atmosphere. So for me, and I was, having this discussion with someone not too long ago, they were like, yeah, that's cool and all, but like, couldn't you have said the same thing a lot easier?
Yeah, that was the rub with the paint. Like, so doing the, I had started my career as a tattoo artist and then built up like, I wasn't really an artist when I first started. I like learned to be an artist. I didn't come in with a fine art background or anything. And so I first started as a tattooer and then became a tattoo artist and then discovered art outside of tattooing and then got really influenced by paintings and whatnot. And and so as I the stuff I liked was classical font. It was like how much detail can you squeeze into a thing? But then I was bringing that into the tattooing, and almost to a degree of like excess. Like you said, it was just almost too much. The new stuff I'm envisioning right now is definitely more uh, not that. it, it because also like the last bunch of years I'd spent painting a lot, and I'd kind of like probably put 60 or 70% of my energy in painting and like 30% in tattooing. I just was far more engaged in the like painting process than I was for tattooing for a long time. And then coming back to tattooing, it was when, or like, I kind of like thought was real interesting is I was like, I'm painting tattoos. Like, I can't do a single sitting tattoo anymore because I needed to be able to layer the paint, like the tattoo. And that was becoming like a hindrance for me. Like, I was, it was not like effective execution, like the way a tattoo should be, to some degree is like, it just wasn't like effect. I mean, you could make like cool art, but it required them traveling, or whatever, over and over, finding me wherever I'm at, because I travel a lot myself, and sitting through the process and then coming back to get a secondary process or whatever to make sure it's all brought together. And then I'm like, man, I really like with the amount of traveling I'm doing, I want to be able to execute a tattoo start to finish in a decent amount of time where I can leave, they can leave, everybody's happy. If they want to ever come back and do like secondary layering, we can always add bells and whistles, but it is never a part of the like, that's not in the immediate vision. Um, so I think I just came back like I said, I came back to where I started a lot. Like, I kind of had like taken this path and done my journey, and then was like, oh, there's things that I like did that were really like worked well that I need to kind of go back to that I'd forgotten to do. And what's funny is like I went and hung out with Joshua Bowers and this guy Paul out there, and Paul Nice. I don't know if that's his last. I'm gonna feel like I'm screwing that up, and I'm friends with him. But I love these guys. Oh, I love these guys out at Ironheart Tattoo out in Iowa, in Des Moines. And I went back out to their shop. I went and like hung out with them, and they tattoo stylistic traditional tattoos. Like they definitely have their own styles, but they're clean traditional tattooing, like single pass. solid pieces. But I went there and they had like tracing paper drawings it's all over the shop. It is like all over the shop. There's got to be thousands of drawings in this flipping place. And they show up early, they'll do like drawings, not even for their appointment. Like they're not drawing for their appointment, they're just drawing for fun, to like have a bunch of drawings around, and color pencil drawings or whatever. And I was like, I think I want to get back to like that root of it, like where I'm back to like doing everything for the most part on paper. I do like that, I can like get down some ideas and colored schemes real fast in the iPad, which is like a super useful tool for that. But then I went and bought watercolor and was like, I think I'm going to learn how to watercolor and just start doing, because I want, like, the other thing too is that it's all got like, I want it to be uniform across the board. So I want like my oil paintings, my watercolor, like my color pencil, my tattoos to all resemble a very similar technique within them, despite the medium. But I never did watercoloring coming up. I did a ton of flash when I sold tons of flash sets when I was younger, but they were always color pencil and stuff. And
Mhm.
I was like, I think if I do the watercolor, it'll force me to simplify down, where the color pencil allows me to like engage in a bunch of noodling and get caught up in a million blends and all sorts of stuff. Um, and so the watercolor seemed like, I was like, oh, that, and then maybe a little color pencil. Like there's some things you can do to like add, textures or techniques on top. Or so that's what I'm that's what I'm doing this week, has been studying. It's like you're not probably going to ever see these things, but I'm like, because I have to learn the tools. So
Right.
right now I'm like in a learning phase of all that. But it just is like, I don't know, it's like feels fresh. It's like refreshing. It's like, oh, let's see what we can try and get like do here. How can we alter this, or what can I take away and what needs to stay and whatnot. And so yeah, it's really interesting.
That's
But
awesome.
and it's funny you said that, the like dialing it back, because the other thing too is like, with hindsight, it's like you get to see what is like kind of worked over. I've had the chance to like really see what has worked over the 30 years of my career. I mean, which is crazy, because there's people who were babies and they're goddamn full grown adults now. And and so it's like the ability to see that what works. And I mean, some stuff really works well depending on the skin it's going on, like the locate. It's like if you get a nice, like really white skin thigh or whatever, with like where people kind of keep it, the skin's taut or whatever, and it's not exposed to the sun, that tattoo can hold just about anything. Like that area can hold just about anything for forever, as long as they're not like getting really large and then getting small again, and the skin's going through all those transformational processes. But you put it on a window side forearm, and it's a whole different thing. Like the mentality's got to change. Like you have to think like, how is that going to hold up? Like what's really going to fall out of that, because that thing's getting daylight every time I'm driving. Um so there's like different mental processes too with that, like the body parts and the, I don't know. It's fun because it became like like now that I'm older too, I'm all back into the processing, the thinking aspects of it. Like, how is this going to hold up? How's that going to work out? What are we going to do there to make that like go? So yeah, but then so rather before my paintings were influencing my tattoos. Now I kind of think the tattooing is going to influence the paintings. It's going to be like a different thing, like a little
Okay.
different move for myself. So,
Yeah.
but
Okay. Yeah, I'm really excited to see that. Um, I personally I love watercolor. That's what I've been working in for years. That and liquid acrylics, which I find to be a little bit more akin to actually doing a tattoo, because you can't lift anything up, but you can with watercolor.
yeah,
So you don't get any kind of reactivation of the pigment. So it's like if you lay down blue, it's blue.
yeah,
You can layer over top of that and kind of change the tone a little bit, but it's there. But that's always
yeah.
been my preferred. medium. That's what I love working with.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna probably. I might move. I had somebody else suggest that. I'm gonna move into that after. I kind of bought stuff just like I don't want to spend a lot of money if I'm gonna try it and fucking hate it. So
Yeah.
we'll start with like
Right, right.
we'll start where we can. So the watercolors seem like the best option at the time, and then so we'll see what happens. I'm still trying to figure out like all the different, it's like tattooing. It's like you got to figure out all the different blacks. Like I just got
Oh yeah.
one and it's so goddamn black and I'm like that's almost like it's good,
Yeah.
it's good for like something, but it ain't good for like shading out or
Yeah,
it
no.
is it is
Yeah.
too it's too dark, it's too overpowering. but
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
then
I've been so that's actually a very good point. I mean, so anytime I'm working on any kind of painting using liquid acrylic or watercolor, I always alternate between brands for certain things. You have more translucent and then you have more opaque and um but it's awesome and kind of fascinating the way that different companies will make the same color but in different ways to have different effects. Like take Liquitex acrylic ink. And if you look at that black, it's light and it thins out gorgeous into like these super silvery gray tones. But if you look at something, say you're drawing with Talon's ink, right?
yeah,
That's black. That's dark. That's not. You can try to thin that out all you want. I've tried using different things in different ways. I remember taking like a Dixie cup and doing like one drop of black with Talons in that when the Dixie cup was halfway full, and it was still too dark for what I was
yeah,
trying.
yeah, yeah,
It's just crazy dark. Um, which is why for years tattoo artists used to use that for everything. Not that that's recommended anymore because there are certain things in that maybe not exactly healthy.
oh did
But
they did that get withdrawn?
well, I mean, there's certain things coming out that Talons actually started putting into their drawing ink just to
Mhm.
kind of help dissuade people from using it as tattoo ink.
uh, uh,
Um,
uh, uh, uh.
yeah, they started putting in additives, I think, I want to say 5 to 8 years ago. They really started to like crank down on it. Um, I mean, there are probably still people out there using it, and I bet their blacks are just as dark as ever. And I bet they hold up great over time. But some of the things that I found out they were putting into the ink isn't exactly healthy. I don't get me wrong, I got plenty of talons in me, so
Yeah,
and even some from a couple years ago, so it's like can't be too bad if I'm wearing it and I'm still alive, with
yeah,
no
yeah,
adverse effects. But um but yeah, I heard some crazy stories and actually tried to look up what they were actually putting in it. Couldn't find anything in like actual written documentation, but um, through talking to someone that works at the company, because I was like, all right, well, I want to know more about this. Um, they did start putting in additives to try to dissuade people from
yeah,
using it as tattooing. But still, to this day, it's my favorite black to paint with. If I'm doing an ink wash, or if I'm trying to go for those really dark, heavy blacks in a painting, I'm throwing talons in there. Um, I work with oils and acrylics too. I always try to keep things fresh in that manner because it really does help just drive that creative portion of your mind.
yeah,
Um, so I try not to stick with any one medium for too long. I'm usually on like a 3 to 5 year rotation where I'll be like, oh, I forgot I liked working in oils, so let me go back to working in oils.
yeah,
And I'll do that for a couple of years. And then it's like, oh man, I miss liquid acrylics. Let me pull that back out and I'll start doing that again. And then it'll go to heavy body and medium body acrylics. And then it's like, oh, well, let's do some mixed media now. I like everything. But each has its own skill set that it requires in order to use it appropriately, in order to create the effects that you're trying to create. And it takes a lot of time to figure that out. It's not easy to go from something translucent like watercolor on paper, where unless you thin it out, it's going to be super, super dark, and you're not going to get that reflective light coming off of the paper to create the tone that you're looking for. You have to be very precise about areas that you leave open for your white highlights and your lighter tones. And you can't go back through and try to blast white over top of it because it's never going to look the same. So it's always fascinating to like just look at the skill sets involved when switching mediums and then learning, those different little tricks. But that's kind of why I try to go on like a rotation. That way
Yeah.
I keep all of that stuff fresh in my head. Um,
That it's funny because that you say that too, because with the watercolor, like the biggest hurdle for me is trying not to paint them like I'm using wash.
yeah,
Like, so I'm like, these can't be opaque. Look at like that's not the what I'm aiming for. We gotta try to not do that. But yeah, it's been interesting because I'm painting like the way I would paint with oil or acrylic. Like it's like,
hmm,
oh, we'll just mix it down and we come back and we layer on top. And I'm like, no, that's not how we're approaching this one.
yeah, yeah,
It's definitely been a learning curve, but yeah, it's funny. This year, so the last few years I sunk into painting, like you said, that rotation. And this year I was like, the big one was really more sinking into just
yeah,
drawing, like drawing again. Cause that's the one area that benefits all other areas that so for me, I was like, I'm going back to fundamentals. We're going to like rebuild that and make those solid and good and stronger, so,
yeah.
but, and then the
Good
other
drawing
parts
is
are
the
like
foundation of
additions.
everything.
What's that?
I said a good drawing is the foundation of every work of
Yeah.
art.
Yeah.
You know, so it stands true, and it's awesome. It's something I've been trying to get back into as well. I got sketchbooks all over the place now that, it's like I always forget where I leave them because I always buy like the small guys
Yeah.
just to do like small little quick sketching but it's like I'll get distracted by something, I'll put it down and then I'll be like, what where did I put that? I know it was over here somewhere. Maybe I just need to buy bigger sketchbooks. I don't know.
Yeah. There you go. I've got assortments of sizes. I find that, I prefer, if given the chance, like I would prefer do everything big. But then that was like a critique that one of my friends was like, "Man, you're on the road so much and you keep drawing like sleeves. So, like, calm down. Like,
Yeah.
draw a fucking like make a tattoo." Like,
Yeah.
and so then I had to like buy like a little, like, okay, I guess I'm gonna just try and get myself constrained, force constraint. So
Right. Right. That's so I was, you know, thinking back to my apprenticeship and whatnot. I remember walking in every single day and I had my 11 by 14 sketchbook with me, because I used to buy the big ones. I was like, oh, well, I'm bigger, big areas, get the whole arm into it. And I, I think it was around the holidays one year, one of the people at the studio, we did like a Pollyanna thing and he gave me this little like 3 by 5 sketchbook. And he's like, everything you draw from now on needs to be in this. And I was like, how, huh? He's like, trust me, you'll understand the benefit later on down the road. By limiting that size, it forces you to keep things more simple,
yeah,
and it blew my mind how much that actually helped
yeah.
because,
There's a lot of great artists that do that format
yeah,
too.
and just fascinating. Just that force constraint really does have an impact on simplification. And they're like, oh, you want to draw a back piece? If it doesn't fit on an index card, it shouldn't be a back piece.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
because it also like has readability, right? You blow it
right,
up, like, oh man, like, but you see it a mile away, and you're like, oh, I know what that is. Like,
right.
yeah, when I went and got to visit Curtis Burgess out in Fort Collins, and I mean that's what he has, like all these like he had like these little tiny drawings, and then I'm like, you tattoo these this small? He's like, no man, like they're just but these
Yes.
guys, like, they're so awesome. And he can, and the beauty of, like, I've always done thumbnails. I never worked out like a lot of like my full drawing small. Like, I'll do some thumbnails to get the general idea. But the beauty is that the readability is, he blows it up and the readability is there, and he can crank out more ideas in a shorter
Hmm.
period of time, than if I'm like, I'm going to just be drawing my huge drawing today, and then I'd finish the section and he could have like 90 drawings done, or
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah. Staying small, and it all helps. It all adds together. I started, and still to this day, I'll start out small thumbnails, and I'll try to do some value studies. And then if I like it, I'll maybe blow it up to the next size, and I'll try to go maybe 8 by 10. And if anyone likes it, they like it, great. If not, it doesn't matter. I'm doing these for studies and to try to get these ideas inside my head out and onto paper.
yeah, yeah,
Just conceptualizing like different things. Well, if I was going to put this here, where would this go? And then let's do this here because now this is going to be off balance. Okay, well, maybe I want to do this in a different way. Let me do another quick little, 2 by 3 inch drawing. Um, it just helps get those ideas out and onto paper. And I can always look back at them and I can say, oh man, I forgot I sketched this up. This looks awesome. Let me turn that into a painting because, I'm bored and I've got a dead week because my appointment's canceled. Cool. Now I can take that, I can blow up that sketch and it's ready to go. I just
yeah,
transfer that and I'm good. Um, but it's like that, it's not something that really clicked for me until about 4 or 5 years ago. Just that lesson that guy taught me during my apprenticeship,
yeah,
it never really registered up until a couple of years ago when I was like, I get it now. It makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
So
sometimes, the one thing when you first start to is you don't realize, like, you don't know how little you know.
yeah,
And so it's not till you get further along that, like, things you had learned earlier are like have value sometimes, like, because then you're like, oh, I wasn't in the place where that was even like a thing yet, but now I've reached this place and that's like very important to me. I study other stuff outside of tattoo, and that's very much like that, like where it's like I'll do all this reading and be like, I don't understand these concepts at all, and then like time will pass, and I'll go back and reread and be like, oh, like goddamn, okay, now that makes sense. Now that like thing made sense, but I needed all this other like time and knowledge to even put that piece into place. So
yeah. Now we have a few minutes left. I wanted to go through. You're going to be presenting at Paradise Gathering this year.
that's correct.
Is
Yep.
that, yeah? And you're doing the 27 seminar.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Why
Yeah.
don't you tell us a little bit about that? Just try to do a little bit of a plug for that. And
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
So this it's a seminar I kind of been working on for a while now. The hardest part is like you have all this like material you want to be able to share with people, and then you're like, what do people need to hear? What are they already getting? Like, what are they hearing from other people? Because there's a lot of repeat. It's like the messages get repeated over and over. We hear the same things a lot from various artists and stuff. So I just had decided that one of the areas I hadn't really been seeing too much development in was, well, it was like a broad spectrum of what the 27 years of my career were, and the things that like I wish someone had told me throughout parts of my career, because each kind of section addresses a different like stage of career. So like some stuff is more like things I wish I knew when I first started, things I knew when my first like artistic crash came, and I like the well was dry and I had no idea, like didn't know what I wanted to do anymore. So it's like things that happen when you're an older artist and you're like reflecting on your career and thinking that like I guess I'm fucking done. Like, maybe this is it. So it's like different little. They're just done. I wanted it, so it's super simple. It just is like 27 like bullet points, and then we just like I discussed the bullet points, and then they range everything from like artist block um, to little art tips that were super helpful. It's like a little myriad of a bunch of different information, but all kind of contained um, within the seminar, whatever. So it addresses like a lot of the stuff, because I talk like a lot also about like just being, not just the art. Like a lot, there's so much focus. I heard this the other day, or seen someone write it on like Threads or whatever, which I think is like the most awful fucking thing that's happened to the social media since Twitter, probably. But it's like just a place where people go complain, I think. But that's all I see on there. But the person was like, why would I listen to someone who's been tattooing for 15 years if I don't even like the art they're putting out? And I was like, man, if that's all we're focused on is just art as like the accelerant of our careers, then we're missing 90% of all the other stuff. Like, because tattooing is far more than just a picture. Like, there's a lot of elements, and when it becomes a part of your life and you're living it day in and day out, and trying to balance your family, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to squeeze in time to like do your self-care, and you're trying to, it's like there's all these things. Like, maybe I want to listen to how someone with 15 years of experience overcame that, so that when I show up to that, I have a little bit of knowledge, like, for those areas. So that's kind of like a lot of the, like, where I focused my energy was more on like, what would I tell younger me now with the knowledge I have now, like, because I didn't have it then. So I've done this seminar. This will be like, when I do it at Paradise, I think it's the fourth time I've done it. I have been told it's kind of like listening to your dad try to teach you shit about life. uh, so there's like, or it's kind of like you. I forget how it was. Alicia Harding put it some way, and it was super funny because she was like, "It's like your dad trying to sit you down and tell you about life, but because he cares."
Right.
So, uh, so that's, I guess, like, it's definitely from a place of passion for tattooing, and you know to help others. And so it keeps getting altered and changed. It's not never the same, because as I do it, I'm like, okay, this has to like get better. It has to like evolve and get better and stuff. So new information, I go out on the road, I listen to people talk, I listen to what people, where their struggles are, and I'm like, okay, that's a thing we need to talk about then. And then that gets kind of brought up, sort of like that, like, Instagram page I do. So it's like a place where people can, it's like we just generate ideas. That's what this was. It's like I'm like, what do people need to hear that they aren't really getting right now? And so that's what 27 is. So
Right
I
on.
just named it after the amount of time. It probably needs a way better title that's more like
I mean, I
descriptive,
like it. I
but
like it.
it just was, that's how long I've been tattooing professionally for, and that seemed like a good, that was the number. So that was
Yeah,
what.
it's catchy, man. Honestly, I like it.
Thank
Rather
you.
than some like long paragraph long description of like, okay, today we're going to be covering this into this into this and its impact on this, 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 and this. 27.
Yeah, 27.
It's all
Yeah,
you
the
need.
thank you, Missy. Um yeah, the it's a fun, it's, I don't know, I like doing it. I think I need better marketing. That is like, man, if there's one thing I really got to go to fucking school for this year, it is marketing. Because I don't let, it's like, I don't like, I was like, selling myself is the weirdest fucking thing ever. And that's what we have to do every day, right? But,
Yeah.
yeah, I got to get better at that. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well,
That'll be on the books this year to study. We're going to learn that.
absolutely. There we go. There we go.
We're going to
It's
learn
always,
that. I'll
it's,
learn it at Paradise. I guarantee you someone's talking about it.
oh, no
Guarantee.
doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on today and talking with us. I'm always happy to have you on, man. Every time I talk to you, I feel like I've learned a little bit more and gained a little bit more knowledge. So thank you for that. I really, really appreciate it.
I
Um,
appreciate you, man.
and I'm
And
really
I'm looking
looking
forward
forward.
to us doing our drawing, doing
Oh,
some
dude.
drawing
Yeah.
together at
I
Paradise.
won't bring erasers this time. I promise.
Huh?
I won't bring erasers this time.
It's okay. We'll just bring colored pencils and you can't erase, and then
Yeah.
you're
I can do
you're
that.
locked. So
Anything you can imagine. I have like half of an art store at my house. So
yeah.
if there's something specific you want me to bring, just tell me.
The irony, I went to Blick yesterday to pick something up, and she was like, she knew me. She was like, "You're already in the thing. I'm all set." Because normally they'll ask me for my number to get the discount codes or whatever. And I was like, "You need my number?" And she was like, "No, you're all set, Gunnar. We got you." And I was like, "God damn! Like that's how often I'm fucking in here." Damn.
Yeah. See, I try to limit my trips to the art supply store like Blick or Jerry's because every time I go, it's like, oh, well, while I'm here, oh, this is on sale. All right, let me get two of these. All right. Oh, I need one of those. And then I have to get a new paintbrush because I'm a paintbrush addict. I have
Yeah,
a problem. It's really bad too because apparently I have very expensive taste in brushes. So I can't leave an art supply store without spending, 250 bucks, 300 bucks every single time I'm in there.
yeah. I have to
Uh,
put a cap on myself when I go in. But
yeah,
my biggest issue is I'm not staying at my house. I'm like at my family's house, so all my stuff is not. I don't know where shit is sometimes.
right.
And then I'm like, I gotta go pick up some more pencils. And then I show up home and am cleaning something. I'm like, fuck, man, I got 20 of these things already. Like, and I'm
Hmm.
constantly overstocked. I'm like way overstocked.
Yeah. I've got duplicate tubes of paint from a
Yeah,
couple years ago. When I was working with, medium body acrylics, I'd go out and I'd be like, wait, I don't think I have this. Let me pick up a tube of it and I'll get 'em. And it's like, I already have that one. All right, well, we've got a duplicate if I run out. Okay, so what's next? Oh, I've got one of those as well. Okay, we're gonna put that in a whole separate pile.
yeah,
But and it accumulates over time.
yeah. Hobby
Um,
Lobby was going out of business and they had a bunch of their gambling paints that they were getting rid
mhm.
of. It was like $2 a tube. So I'm like, I'm fucking buying them all.
Yeah,
I bought them all. And there's no way I'm ever going to use that much paint ever in my life.
right.
It's like impossible, but I have them.
Yep.
But I figure I'll gift them to artists that are like, I want to try oil painting. And then I'll be like, here you go. No, Missy, I have not tried pan pastels. I read the like little, you have like a little thing down your side.
Yeah.
So that wasn't for you, Jason. That was for Missy.
Fair enough.
So I haven't tried pan pastels yet. I figure if people are going to say something, I should respond. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, 27 at Paradise. Super excited about that. It'll
Yeah. I
be
can't wait.
I'm excited about that. Yeah. And I'm it really kind of looking forward to doing the art drawing night again because I don't do a lot of I did started doing collaborations in a sketchbook and then was like I kind of want to go do that again because that really like that shit like the when we did it there at Paradise, I didn't realize how like irritated I would be when somebody like went over my shit. And then I was like, oh, I guess I need to learn patience. Like, so it's like a really good spiritual lesson there about being. You're not the
Sorry.
only one, man. No, dude, that shit's like that's a part of the process, right? But I was like, man, this is definitely a learning, even outside of tattooing, like, or drawing, it was like a learning experience because I was like, man, I got to really learn to let go of some stuff. Like, why was I so attached to that fucking thing? Like, it doesn't matter. It's a fucking draw. Like,
Yeah.
I could redraw that some other time. So, yeah, but
Yeah.
it was fun.
I've got a little surprise for you up at Paradise as well. I took all of those drawings that we did, and I have them all high resolution scanned and stitched together. So I'll be bringing you a set of those from the
Oh, dang.
collaborative drawings we did last year.
Dang.
Yeah, they
That's
might
pretty
be
cool.
a little bit smaller than actual size, but the
Geez,
way
they were
that
huge.
those,
How you get
well,
the like
got a,
big?
I've got a big printer,
Oh,
so
do you?
yeah, I run, prints for different artists, here and there,
Okay,
kind of
okay,
word of
gotcha.
mouth. I don't really advertise it, but I do it occasionally for different people. And it also helps because I can take whatever paper I don't use on their jobs. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got it, got it.
um, so it kind of works out, everyone benefits, but it's something that I was forced to learn when I was in school. So it's like, all right, that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just buy paper by the roll and feed that through, and I can run. As long as it's smaller than 17 inches wide, I can do 50 feet long if need be.
Oh,
Uh,
dang.
yeah. Depending on how long the roll is, I can run however long the roll is.
Yeah.
I try not to because I'll go through, 8 different color cartridges at $60 a piece pretty quick. But every now and then I'll do a couple of like bodysuit prints for someone or something like that. It's, you
Yeah.
know,
Hey,
4 foot
Jason.
long.
Jason, is your mic hitting your collar?
I think it is. Oh,
Like
thank you.
you sound like a DJ. It was like
Ah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was getting the
Well,
remix version.
oh man, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna bring up tanned paper this year for us to work on instead of
Okay,
the brown
cool.
craft paper from before. It's gonna give it a bit more tooth, so we should get some better quality drawings out of it and get to be able to blend and smudge a little bit
Cool.
easier. So
Yeah, that'll be fun.
yeah,
Well, I
well,
will definitely be there. So
awesome. So will I. I
yeah.
I kind of have to be because Russ hit me up and we're helping each other out with
Oh,
presentations.
okay,
So
cool, cool.
yeah, I'm kind of locked in. Yeah, I don't have an excuse.
Fair enough.
Plus, I might be getting my back piece started while I'm up there. So
Yeah, awesome. Who's doing that?
Anthony Tex,
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, he's awesome.
yeah,
He's awesome.
yeah, he's going to be there. He's going to be presenting this year. I talked to him about it while he was tattooing my hand in December in Puerto Rico, and I was like, we can, if you're really trying to get in on the seminar thing, like it's a good idea. Um, and talked to him about it, and we got him all situated, and he'll be flying out to do a presentation. So I'm very excited for that. I was like, and hey, while you're out there, if
Yeah,
you
I hope
have
it does.
time,
I hope that doesn't overlap with mine because that's a
yeah,
he's
no,
he's someone
I'm,
I'd love to see talk about his. I don't know what he's talking about, but if it's about process, it'd be really his work
yeah,
super cool.
yeah, I love his stuff. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure we can make sure that that gets scheduled
Yeah,
appropriately. So, um, yeah, but thank you as always for jumping on today. Always
yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me,
Um,
man. I appreciate
Anytime.
it. So
Yeah, if you want to jump on another one, maybe later in the summer before October, do some more, do another plug, or just hop on here and talk about some more life stuff. You're always welcome.
sounds
Um,
good. Sounds good.
yeah. So,
I'll come chat with you. I'm not afraid. So
dude, that's what I love to hear, man. Every time I talk to you, I get smarter.
uh,
So, yeah, I always appreciate it, man. You always, have these like amazing nuggets of knowledge um,
it's what
that
happens
I,
when you spend so much goddamn time alone, man.
well,
I do,
true,
do a lot of reading and a lot of fucking sitting in contemplative thought. So
true.
yeah,
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, and we'll get you back on again soon. For anyone out there still watching, thanks for joining us today. And, I'll see everyone back here again next week at noon on Monday for the next episode. So, Gunnar, thank you so
awesome.
much.
Thank you guys. You have a good one.
And take care, everyone. Be safe. And yeah, I'll see everyone next week.